Any conservative leader, any pro-life leader, will have a challenge to be heard through what is essentially and frequently a hostile media. But the task for any conservative leader, and this goes for Aaron O'Toole, Andrew Scheer, any other conservative leader, is to maintain message discipline.
Coming up next, we'll be back to talk with our panelists, Chris Maud and Catherine Mongenet, on their experiences traveling with the Conservative leader in the last election and other behind-the-scenes stories from the road and on election night. Well, welcome back. Our panelists, Chris Maud and Catherine Mongenet, are here. Thank you guys for joining us again. Chris, I'll go to you first. If you were a senior political staffer on the Andrew Scheer tour, and I'm just wondering, what was Andrew like on the tour versus what was he like in public?
Well, he's a very authentic man, a very authentic leader. And I think what Canadians saw during the 2019 election campaign was accurate, but perhaps didn't see as much of it as those of us who were with him day in and day out saw. He was fantastic to work with, fantastic to be with. He's a very good-natured man, a good-humored man, fantastic wit and sense of humor, and he's a very principled man. He's a family man, and I think everybody's aware of that. But it was a privilege to see that day in and day out during the 2019 election campaign. Any conservative leader, any pro-life leader, will have a challenge to be heard through what is essentially and frequently a hostile media. But the task for any conservative leader, and this goes for Aaron O'Toole, Andrew Scheer, any other conservative leader, is to maintain message discipline. And so that was something that we certainly saw in the 2019 election. I think it's something that to the greatest extent we're seeing in the current election as well on the part of most of the leaders. But it makes it hard sometimes, you're right, to see what they're like in their private life. But I think for those of us who worked on the Conservative campaign in 2019, what you saw was accurate. We just got more of it.
Yeah, I mean, we did have glimpses of Andrew Scheer's personality in the House of Commons, like when the Liberals were all over Twitter and really promoting stuff that they read on Twitter in terms of policies. Andrew Scheer's epic hashtag, burn against them was amazing. If you haven't heard it, go to YouTube and look it up. Also, when he was talking about, milk and opening up his bottle of milk, that was also very interesting, a whole other issue. But he did have that character. He did, and that was shown in public, in the House of Commons, and also in interviews. He did have that sharp wit, so it's interesting.
He did, and in fact, the journalists who traveled with us during the campaign, they also saw it. And, I guess it's a subject for academic debate whether or not that influenced their coverage, but they did experience it on a number of occasions. He was very easygoing with everybody around him, and they saw his personality.
Absolutely.
Actually, if we're talking about the Quebec side, if that's okay, I remember I thought he had an even better sense of humor behind the scenes. And one of the things that really made me laugh was we were talking about his favorite French song, and he said it was Saskatchewan by Les Trois Accords, and it's a Quebec song about like how this guy being angry because Saskatchewan stole his wife, and I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, so yeah, he's a great guy, really funny, super sweet.
Well, that's good to know, because oftentimes we get like a certain persona of a politician and we don't really know what they are like in real life, so it's good to have this inside perspective. Now, you both traveled with a leader during the last election, so what was your average day like? Catherine, I'll start with you.
Oh gosh, well, I was Jill Scheer's personal assistant, so I saw more her side, and it was kind of like going in and out of events. I had to like make sure she had a path through the crowds, which kind of seems crazy now with COVID. So it was definitely something to experience, to know like when she goes in, where she goes out, like what is she gonna say if she has something to say, what's she gonna wear, like all these different things. And so it really gave me the internal side of like the stressful side of like, okay, what's next? We're always on the move. Like Chris, you can attest to that. We were in the buses, on the planes, like sometimes different 4 or 5 different provinces in one day. So it was crazy traveling. It was a great experience, really.
Chris?
There's a lot of adrenaline involved in a national election campaign, and in any election, frankly, but particularly on a leaders tour. Every day is different. Every day starts early and ends late. It's filled with events, briefing calls, and there might be a certain pattern. You might have you do have multiple briefing calls in the morning with different sets of advisors, go over the day's news, things like that. In the morning, you will have a media veil and an announcement, and then you might do a stop somewhere at some kind of local attraction where the media can get photos and things like that. Perhaps further remarks might be added, and then in the afternoon you might have a rally or some other kind of event with supporters and volunteers. So every day is different, and obviously if, as happened in 2019 and is still happening, if the Prime Minister has another scandal breaking, you have to react to that.
Yeah.
You have to figure out, okay, are we going to do a media veil as soon as the plane lands and go over your messaging and things like that. So it's a very intense schedule, but certainly a learning experience for everybody on the team.
Now, in this particular election, we've had Trudeau cancel media stops because there have been protesters. There was even, in Aaron O'Toole's final stops, there was a protester that was screaming over him. Was there ever anything like that while you guys toured with Andrew? And if so, what was the most chaotic day where you really had to change direction, if there even was one? Catherine?
Oh, I think I'm going to let Chris speak on that one because he had something ready.
Well, I think every politician has to be prepared for the possibility of protest, and certainly Trudeau has had a lot of protests, and I think to some extent he has tried to amplify that and play the victim, whereas most of the time, political leaders try to diminish the appearance of such protests. Certainly in our case, generally speaking, the leader's message was well received pretty much wherever we went. It doesn't mean that there aren't protesters here and there, but you adapt. You handle those situations. You do everything you can to make sure that your message gets through every day.
I can't recall any major protests. I mean, there were some few, but nothing like we see with Trudeau today. Definitely there's a lot of more animosity this election than there was last time. I mean, that's, yeah.
Now, if you're a total political nerd like me, one of my favorite shows is The Good Wife, and one of the reasons why I like it is because it shows kind of behind the scenes of this person running for governor, what happens in their family, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you guys were there front and center with the leader in the last election. So, on election night, there's so many emotions, there's so many things you're looking for. What is going on right now in the leader's head? What's going on where he is present? Can you tell us a little bit about that environment?
Well, the election day itself will take a slightly different shape from most of the other days during the campaign. There will be a little bit more time for the leader to gather his thoughts, maybe spend some time just having more relaxed conversations with people, praying, spending time with family and friends. And then in the evening, of course, if you're talking about a major party leader like Aaron O'Toole, who could be elected Prime Minister tonight, he'll be getting briefings from the RCMP because there are a number of transitions that happen, the second that occurs. And then in the evening, of course, you're watching results. You're talking to your staff, you're talking to your senior advisors, you're preparing your remarks. And each leader will have their victory party. It's always called a victory party for all the leaders. And simply following along, seeing what's happening, and preparing to speak.
Well, thank you guys so much. Just a quick election results update. The Liberals are leading in Quebec 40-32. That's a really good start for the Liberals. There is a 40-30 split for the Liberals in Ontario in terms of percent, and 8 to 6 seats split for the Liberals. So we will keep an eye on that coming up next. Scott will have more of an update for you. But I am so privileged to interview our next guest, who has been a strong and ardent voice against gendercide and fighting for women's rights from the womb to the tomb. Check it out.